Good afternoon. I wasn't going to film any of this, but I'm fixing a mower for a friend. Doing some mower repair. This here's zero turn unit. So what the issue is the deck's just flopping around all over the place. Come to have a closer look at it, and all the holes are wallered out. This one isn't horrible, but the other side's about the same. It should be a circle, not an oval. See how it's a bit of a more oval than circle? And the plates that it hinges from are perfect. So rather than the easily replaceable part, although I'd argue this isn't too easy to replace, but easier than replacing the next thing I'm going to show you, all the wear has happened on the deck and on the frame rails of the mower. So I'll give you a quick little shot of this side. Isn't too bad. This hole right here. It's really hard to get an angle. That's not horrible, okay? Make a mental note of that because I'm going to show you the other side. That giant hole, this giant one that I can stick my finger through, is supposed to fit a 7/16 bolt in it. And it's like, oh, I don't know, an inch plus. Anyway, the reason why I decided to film this, not that any of this matters, was because I came to a point where it's like, oh, I'm going to do the thing that I always do, and I figured you guys might want to know it. So I'm going to show you a little trick on how to fix holes that are wallered out. Okay, sorry, I realized I wasn't prepared. I grabbed the bolt. It mounts through the other way, but I'm just going to stick it in from the back. That bolt is supposed to fit snug in this hole. So it's got all of this room. This is how long this thing's been running around loose in there, slamming up and down, and it has turned this hole into a giant slot. It should be, the actual location should be around here somewhere, which is crazy that it went up so much. It must have been, the deck must have been pushing up on the mower while it was running. Anyway, so obviously this needs to be checked and made sure that it stays tight, or this is going to happen again. I'm not going to reproduce one of these bolts with a shoulder on it to run on that bracket because I don't have a lathe, and quite frankly, that's beyond the scope of what this feller wants for a repair. He wants it quick, cheap, and just running right away. He mows grass with this. Not his grass, but other grass. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, this is my little trick for the day, is what you do is you find yourself a good piece of copper. I got this back in my fabricating days, but this is just bus bar, probably 1/4 inch, we'll call it 3 inches wide. Any nice thick chunk of copper. I've been using this same piece of copper for darn near 20 years now. What you do is you clamp it in behind, like so. You get it nice and tight in there and clamp it. And what that'll allow you to do is fill that hole with weld, that giant slot, because I really can't think of a better way to do this short of reproducing that bolt. Fill that giant slot full of weld, and the copper doesn't stick to the weld. This is normally a lot bigger than I would ever do this for, but that's what we got to work with, so that's what we're going to work with. So I'm just going to fill that whole thing. I'm just going to weld it all up, and then I'm going to put a plate on the inside because I have enough room that I could add about another 1/8 of an inch material. So I'm going to fill that all up with weld, put a plate on the inside, weld that in there, and I'll have enough shoulder on the bolt that I'll be able to get through that extra 1/8 of material. And just tell them, listen, you got to make sure those bolts stay tight or you're going to be doing this again. The dealer quoted them $1,100 or something. That's because the dealer wanted to change out this whole section of frame rail with a new one. They're going to order a new section of frame rail and change it out, which seems a little ridiculous to me. It's kind of a poor design, but anyway. So if you ever get a hole in the wrong location, or a hole you need to fill, and you can't really grind on it from the other side, or you want it to stay flat, just put a piece of copper in behind it. And the other great thing too, in your welding sheet metal, like thinner stuff, it'll act like a heat sink and stop it from blowing through all the time. So if you got a welder, you should have a chunk of copper lying around. It's so useful. So useful. Anyway, I'll shoot a little video when I'm done, show you what I got, what the final result is. I can't even talk today. I haven't been using my words. Anyway, cut to the next chunk, the finished version. So that's what we got after we welded it up. I'll grind it smooth and it'll look good as new. So here we are all grinded out. And as you can see, Our bolt fits nice in there now. Nice and snug. You can kind of see a faint outline of how big the slot was originally from being wallered out. But that's going to do it. That's going to fix this. I got 3 more to do, and this thing can go. I'll put a coat of something on there. I don't have any red paint, but I've got some red oxide primer. Maybe I'll throw that on there just to stop it from rusting so bad. I tried to talk him into putting casters on this deck, because this is a 0-turn mower, right? The fact that the deck doesn't have casters on it, and then the deck could just float, it could just ride on the ground, and away you go. But he says he cuts at different heights all the time, so in that situation you'd have to adjust. It's whatever. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Either way, have a great day, folks.